Well, our now tropical depression, Gorio, or soon to be Rumbia, and very well while you're watching this, it is called Rumbia, is just defying all expectations at this time. This is one of those storm systems that really demonstrate why we say tropical systems can flare up in just a 24 to 48 hour period out here in the Western Pacific. Previously, it was just a little weak disturbance out here around Palau, but now, as you can see here in the satellite imagery, just take a look at that. It goes from one little cloud there and explodes into a very large tropical system. And this one already going to be upgraded by JTWC here. PAGASA started warning on it from Thursday going into Friday. JMA expects it to become a tropical storm. Right now being called Gorio by PAGASA here. They have the track actually pushing off there towards Lente and Visayas. You're going to get some heavy rainfall out of this if this track holds true. I do think that it very well could. Not so much in this joggy pattern, but it is going to be pushing a little bit farther towards the west than what we anticipated yesterday. So that is why we're going to be revising our video update here. Also today talking more about the impacts of this tropical system, vice the actual dynamics of behind its formation. So let's get into it. But right now, though, pressure hovering above 1,000 HPA. I do think that is going to continue to fall, though, especially with all that severe convection blowing up around the center of circulation. Winds continuing to climb above 30. Take a look actually at the pass from the polar orbiter last night. Look at this right here near the center of circulation. That's Mindanao out here towards the west. We're seeing winds 30 to 35 knots. So that's actually confirmation of this already being tropical storm intensity. And while I'm showing you this water vapor imagery, this is actually looping over the past about 48 hours. You can really see this storm system exploding up here. Now, one thing that is counteracting against it, see all that drier influence, dark areas off towards the north? If it does pull off here towards the north, that is going to kind of disrupt it a little bit. But right now it's staying towards the south. It has plenty of moisture coming in out of the equatorial regions. And the other thing about this dark area off towards the north is that is actually a high pressure ridge. It is suppressing any tropical development up in this area. That's why we have no cloud cover right now. But also, it is going to keep this storm system down towards the south. So with that said, Philippines, are you going to be seeing a landfalling tropical system? Yes. That's a no-brainer because of that high-pressure ridge. Also, today I revised our Westpac weather track here, just showing you those areas in greens where I do think there's a risk of flooding. I know most of the Philippines under the risk right now, so it's kind of vague, but also the risk of damaging winds going through Saturday night and the Sunday, expecting it to move here along the southern portions of Luzon. Now, I got the cone of air extending down towards the south because it is making that westerly jog right now, and well, that high-pressure ridge is going to keep it towards the south, but it very well could even push in and around the Manila area. So with that said, Manila could be seeing the risk of some, well, heavy rainfall if this does come to pass. Also is going to pull moisture in out of the South China Sea. I think the heaviest and rough stuff is going to be extending off here towards the north as the storm pulls off there towards the north, but it really is going to be skirting the Luzon coast here the entire time. And you can see it actually pulling off here just east of Visayas, moving off there towards Luzon, east of Manila. But like I said, these winds are going to continue to flow on shore, so you're going to see the showers there. And this is from the GFS model, and actually makes landfall, well, in there and along the east coast of Luzon towards the southeast of Santiago. So, as a tropical storm, these winds in the oranges, upwards about 40 knots possibly in this area. It did back off from those strong typhoon intensity winds the GFS model did since yesterday, but still having this quite organized. Now, this is from the ECMWF, keeps it much more weak and down there farther towards the south. It really plays in the fact of that drier inflow coming around it. But as we can see it track off here, it actually keeps it rather weak. I think that it's not initializing well, though. It is initializing it on the weaker side. So a tropical storm is more likely in my scenario, what I would think. But at the very least, even though it's keeping it weak, just look at all this moisture inflow pouring onshore across much of Luzon. There's going to be the risk of flooding with this one. You have the low here. It's grabbing that moisture, wrapping it around it, and just tossing it onshore. And that's going to be some heavy rainfall coming out of that. Upwards of about 50 to 100 millimeters in a 24-hour period here along the coastlines. But also, there's the risk of some areas seeing much more than that, especially once you get into the mountains here. And, well, once you get into that, especially the east coast facing mountains, there's going to be even more rainfall coming out of this. And the GFS model, even more so as we take a look at that, you have those winds just continuing to push on shore. We can pull up the MSL. It has an abundant amount of moisture with it. So, definitely the risk of flooding coming out of this. If the GFS model has its way, though, it does really not show much rainfall over Manila. Most of it's concentrated off towards the north. That's why I was very vague about where these showers are going to be taking place. But remember, the atmosphere is quite unstable out here. It's very moisture-laden. So as this does pull off towards the north and skirts the coastline here, it's going to be dragging in yet more energy, and these pop-up storms in the afternoon are very well possible. So with that said, there's still the risk of some heavy rainfall out here. Now, it is going to be sucking in all the energy around it, so expect clear conditions off here towards the north and towards the east, especially around Palau. Conditions will be improving for you, but most of the Philippines, I think that you're going to be feeling the effects of this one way or another. So, with that said, everybody stay safe out there. We're not an official agency at all here at westernpacificweather.com, but if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can post them down into the comment box below, but always check in with JMA or PAGASA, depending on what agency you prefer using.